Tony Ferguson, man, tough fight for the guy. We're gonna ask a few questions, whether he should retire. Was his loss to Oliveira a case of Oliveira being that good, or was it a combination of maybe Ferguson being past his prime and Oliveira just being in his peak form? It's tough to say. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but you guys are here for techniques. So one of the craziest techniques that Oliveira hit in this match related to jiu-jitsu was the arm lock from the mounted position. It's day one really, right? The guy frames and pushes away from you, you take the arm lock. First day. So whenever you're in a situation where the guy's scared of taking shots in an MMA fight, the guy's typically gonna turn away in some form. And in that situation, I can slide my leg high on his head, trapping his arm, folding my far side leg, and I can easily fit through and take the Jiu-Jitsu. So that's exactly what Oliveira did. It was nothing scientific about it. It's a basic arm bar you would learn on your first day at your local Jiu-Jitsu academy. What made the finish unique, or the attempted finish unique, he didn't finish it, was the crossing of the feet. And the technique that he pulled Ferguson's arm over his far top hip, like so. So it created a lot of tension. Like I can't demonstrate what he did to Ferguson. What he did to Ferguson would have broken anyone else's arm. So I can't demonstrate that here. But he had the shoulder well in, really deep, and he was pulling over this side. He was completely supine. So if you can imagine me being supine and completely bending the arm over my left hip to the point where he even overhooked the arm here, supine, if you can visualize that, I'll put it here. And he's bridging, and Ferguson just wouldn't tap. The arm was basically in an upside U shape. So I'm not gonna get into how to do the arm bar from the mount. I'll show it one more time just for the sake of the video, but I won't get too detailed about it. But the scenario is whenever I can create panic, I can create a dilemma where the guy's scared of me landing shots, so he starts to expose his back to me and extends his topside arm. And whenever that's the case, we can always enter into Jiu-Jitsu. So basically all I have to do is slide my knee high on the head, fold my leg, lean towards the legs, and I get a beautiful Jiu-Jitsu. And in this case, once again, he wasn't even able to connect his hands. Ferguson didn't have a chance to connect his hands. So he immediately crossed his feet, Oliveira did. He went to his 2-on-1 and he started bending that arm over the top hip. Now, we don't usually do it over the top hip. We usually bend it over the bottom hip, here and here, which gives us opportunities for more attacks. But not wrong. I mean, beautiful technique by Ferguson. Excellent execution. But what should have Ferguson done to escape? The thing is, when you get extension on an arm, right? You get extension on an arm. There's always a small chance before the guy crosses his feet that you can escape your elbow underneath his far bottom leg. And then from here, you can start framing on the ankle and then pushing it over your head. From here, Pete will simply bump his hips and escape his elbow to the mat. And then from there, he's out. This is one of our late stage armbar defenses. So once again, when Oliveira entered initially into the Jiu-Jitsu and started to go for extension, that was Ferguson's opportunity to bump the hips, get his forearm underneath, and then eventually turn it into a frame with his hand. We can then start to push the leg over the head, turn sideways so he's facing, and look how we escaped the arm that was once in jeopardy, the primary arm. That's a huge defense. The thing is, once you wait, he didn't have much time in Ferguson's defense, but once you start waiting to the point where the guy crosses his feet under your far shoulder, it becomes much harder to do that, right? Because now this arm is trapped into a position where you can't get it underneath my right leg in order to frame. It's harder, okay? It's much harder. You gotta start doing things like pushing this leg through, getting your leg high on my head. We didn't rehearse this. Getting the leg high on the head. And then from here, you can start looking to connect the arms, etc. But even so, just with his head on my leg, when I go to break the arm, I have zero leverage. So that would have been a good option. But preemptively speaking, as soon as Oliveira dismounted, and you know there's no chance to connect your hands. Say Ferguson knows there's no chance. That's when you immediately start to shoot underneath. Attack the bottom leg. So now he has no hip control. Scurry your hips so that you're parallel. And then from here, you can escape your elbow line. It's gonna force Oliveira to readjust in the top position. So that's a late stage defense. I gave you two. I gave you another one. We won't get too much into that. Now I wanna show you another submission that Oliveira hit off the wall that I thought was incredible.
As long as you be my, as long as you.
He had Ferguson down, and Ferguson never the one to quit. Ferguson knew that if he can get a strong underhook, he would be able to bridge, kick off the wall, which is just old school Frank Shamrock. He actually was the first guy I've ever saw do that, where he put his feet on the wall and he would use that to create space and explode out from underneath people. He does that very well. Did that very well. So now what Ferguson did, kind of mimicking Frank Shamrock, is he underhooked, he bridged, and if everything went right, he would have been able to get to his frame with his right hand and escape to the top position. Everything would have been, you know, copacetic from there. But Oliveira is a high-level black belt, so he knew right away that whenever there's extension at the limbs, you can go for a triangle. So as Ferguson started to bridge with the underhook, he escaped this arm. He basically gave Oliveira the triangle, because one arm is in and one arm is out. Now all I have to do to wait for is for Pete to get head height. So once his head starts to come up, he has to post on the mat to do that. So I focus on head control. I anchor my right foot high on the shoulder, and now as he starts to bridge up, posture up, I kick my left leg through, and I go straight into my Mote Senkaku front triangle. Okay, and we'll get into what Ferguson did from there, but let's go over that entrance one more time. I have Ferguson down, Oliveira on top. He started to wiggle his feet into position to create leverage to explode out from underneath. To explode out, we need one underhook arm and we need one shortening arm so that we can roll over our shoulder and eventually get to a post once we go face down. We did that very well. I think actually the position was like a Katagatami, and because Oliveira's head was very low, but then Ferguson started to bridge, escape the elbow line, and that forced Oliveira's head from going low to high. And then once he went up to his knees, we knew he was gonna go to his hands. So I keep pressure on the head, I get my hips up. How do I do that? If I keep my right leg low on the back, I'm not gonna be able to stretch my left leg over the shoulder. So I bring my right leg high on the shoulder, preferably over the actual shoulder blade itself. And then from here, I rock my hips up, I lock up the front triangle, and then I'm in a position to start going on the attack. Okay, locking up triangles, hitting good angles, and going for the finish. Ferguson, being the wild man he is, went supine this way, escaped his head, and eventually escaped his elbow and got out. This guy's a Houdini in terms of escapes. Really incredible stuff. Now make sure you guys subscribe while you're here if you like what you're seeing. Feel like sharing it, share it as well. Let's go over that one more time. So I had top position. Ferguson, being the savage he is, he positioned his body so that he was running in a T shape with the wall. As he starts to bridge up, he escapes his elbow. We know he wants head height. As he grabs head height, I hook my foot, I clear the shoulder line, and now I'm in a perfect position to hit my my Mote Senkaku from here. Let's just move over a little bit. He'll escape the front triangle. There's a million things he could have done, but he chose to go supine. Now, what I would have done if I was Oliveira is right away hook the leg, sit up, and even though I lose the head, there's always a chance you can catch the wrist. And then from here, you can go for a 3/4 juji. From this position, you can break the arm with 3/4 position over the shoulder line. I'll show you that one more time. Here, he goes supine. See, he's already going. He goes supine. Now, the issue was I have no control of my training partner's hip on my opponent's hips. He can easily start to wiggle his arm out. Yeah, because I have no tether to his lower body. So when I feel like I'm losing the upper body, I always resort to the lower body. So now as I feel like, oh, I'm losing, I sit up. I get head height and I get chest positioning over my training partner's elbow. So now Pete's in a position where elbow's trapped, right? He's not gonna be able to escape it. And then I can always go 3/4 juji gatami over the shoulder and I retract my heels into my butt, back heeling. And then from here, you're gonna get a break for sure, okay? And again, if he panics and starts to come up into me, Oliveira would have had the option to go straight back to the triangle from that position. So that's what we're talking about. I want to show you guys basically a fundamental way to escape a late stage armbar that could have worked for Ferguson. Again, before Oliveira crossed his feet. That's an important detail. And also, I just want to document that entry to the front triangle from the cage. That was incredible as well. So let me know, what do you guys think? Do you think Ferguson's past his prime? Or do you think Oliveira's just that damn good? Or is it a combination of both? Pete, what do you think? You need to see the fight. Let's be real, Pete didn't see the fight. Jith, you don't have to shoot Jith because he's off camera and it'll mess with the aesthetic. Jith, what do you think? He's on the side. Do you think he's past his prime? Or do you think Oliveira's that good?
I think he might have came back to early from that meeting.
Gaethje. All right, that's logical. It did seem like Ferguson slowed down a little bit, not in a way that was exponential, but it seemed like it was a hair off. He was a little slow on the feet. He just didn't have that snap on his shots, and he seemed a little gun shy in certain positions. So maybe that's a sign of him getting, listen, he's 36, 37. Is he past his prime? Maybe by 2%. But 2% at the highest level might as well be 100%, because those guys are competing for fractions of a percent in order to be the best. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about Ferguson. Is he gonna keep going forward? My opinion, I'll jump in the comments, but I'll tell you my opinion right now. He has plenty of fights left in him. He has a family. He's gonna be able to supply for his family. He has a unique set of talents. But here's the thing, Oliveira is an incredible talent, not to mention he has attributes. So when you fight a guy who's younger than you, has attributes on you, physical attributes, and who's more skilled on the feet and on the ground, I mean, it's not rocket science. He has a large chance of winning. So all respect to Ferguson, one of the toughest fighters in the world. Most fighters would have tapped from that armbar. Most fighters would have got caught in that triangle and it would have been the end of the game. So kudos to Ferguson. Make sure you guys subscribe as always. Check out my Patreon. All that stuff's gonna be in the first comment, the pinned comment in the description below. And that's all. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Iceberg believed in you.